Okay, so earlier this week we discussed the recent commencement address by award-winning filmmaker Ken Burns at Brandeis University, in which he reflected on what is at stake in this year's election. Take a look.
There is no real choice this November. There is only the perpetuation, however flawed and feeble you might perceive it, of our fragile 249-year-old experiment, or the entropy that will engulf and destroy us if we take the other route. When, as Mercy Otis Warren would say, the checks of conscience are thrown aside and a deformed picture of the soul is revealed. The presumptive Republican nominee is the opioid of all opioids, an easy cure for what some believe is the solution to our myriad pains and problems, when in fact, with him you end up re-enslaved with an even bigger problem, a worse affliction and addiction, a bigger delusion, James Baldwin would say, the author and finisher of our national existence, our national suicide, as Mr. Lincoln prophesies. Do not be seduced by easy equalization. There is nothing equal about this equation. We are at an existential crossroads in our political and civic lives. This is a choice that could not be clearer.
Wow. The Emmy Award-winning filmmaker joins us now. He is this year's recipient of the National Constitution Center's Liberty Medal for, quote, illuminating the nation's greatest triumphs and tragedies and inspiring all of us to learn about the principles at the heart of the American idea. And Ken, great to have you on. And I want to start right there with the American idea. I noticed everything you said jumped out at me, but I'm going to pull. You said, do not be seduced. I think that's so important in the age of the cult of Trump. But even more important, you used the word fragile. And I don't think people understand just how fragile our democracy is. Can you explain how easily it could be unraveled?
Well, I think all you need to do is go back to say, and good morning, Mika, thank you for having me. You could go back to where in 1932 you'd want to be, where everything was great with ideas in politics, in arts, in architecture, in movies, in painting, in music. There'd be no better place on the planet than Berlin. And the next January, not so much. And so what we learn from the study of authoritarianism, what we learn from the study of despots, is that these democratic institutions are fragile because the covenant of democracy is a new thing. We invented it. It said, you're not going to be a subject, you're going to be a citizen. And that requires some responsibilities. And we're going to build institutions in which we have to, just like driving down the road, we trust people aren't going to cross the line. We need to trust each other. And the despot is all about othering people and saying there's a them. There's no them, I tried to say in this. And it's really not about Joe Biden and Donald Trump. It's really about this tendency for us to other and make it just an argument and not a story. As Jen was saying, Joe needs to tell a story, but we also have a responsibility. We've been so focused in the corner of my screen. It's like we're waiting for the train wreck of the trial. We used to 9 years ago, have an airplane hangar where he was going to arrive and say some bad things that was going to shake us up. We have not allowed, the only place where trickle down works is in media. Marshall McLuhan said the medium is the message. If a tree falls in the forest and no one hears it, did it make a sound? If Joe Biden has the third greatest legislative accomplishments in the last 100 years after FDR and LBJ, and people don't know about it because we've been more interested in the argument of guilty or not guilty or this outrage or that outrage, we've missed our responsibility to help. So the other thing I would add, too, is that in the othering, everybody does it. We do it too. We need to reach out to Trump voters. We need to listen to them. We don't need to other them either. Their guy is doing that. We need to remind them that so many of the things that keep them at the level that they're at, that paycheck to paycheck, are there because of things that Joe Biden and Barack Obama and other people have done for them, and not allow them to be completely seduced by the story that despots always tell, that if we get rid of these people or this problem or that's the thing, that things will be better. I think it's on all of us to try to speak to each other in a way and tell stories, not make arguments.
So let me try and respond to a lot of that. Not all of it. It's not possible. It was incredible. But as it pertains to responsibility, I think there is a fine balance from covering the trial or looking at the consequences of a certain type of behavior, or looking at anti-democratic behavior, or looking at treasonous behavior, or looking at a crime being committed and admitted to by a former president. Ignoring that is almost being a part of what I think fascists do, which is desensitize a population. So I think it's a fine balance that nobody's perfect at striking, at looking at the accomplishments of this current president, because they exist, by the way,
they're extraordinary,
versus, and they are historic, actually. Not about us. It's not how we feel about them. They are, by every definition, historic. And so that's a balance that I think the media struggles with. But then there's the other issue of networks and websites that lie, that completely corrode the truth, that make it look like the Biden presidency has ruined the economy, and that's just where it begins. So I guess now let's talk about responsibility of the American citizenry. How do you explain that responsibility at a time like this, when you need to look at history in order to understand what has happened and perhaps shape the future, but you have a fire hose of lots of different things coming at you?
It is, well, Mika, that's the question, and you framed it so beautifully and so articulately. I don't think we entirely know the answer. We do know that, as the novelist Richard Powers says, all we do is argue, and that we need to learn to tell stories. And too often we find ourselves in silo just by the way things are, speaking to the converted. Everybody is nodding and going, yes, I agree. And what I've tried to do in my professional life is tell stories that appeal to everybody, that doesn't have a D in front of it or an R in front of it. It just has an A, an America in front of it. And to say that these are stories we share. And if we go back and reclaim a shared history that is diverse and complicated, has undertow all the elements of a good story, then we don't get stuck, as I was trying to say in my address, in which only one paragraph, the one you showed, one of 20, was about this coming election. It was really about our own responsibility to each other, not to completely always go into the binary, black or white, gay or straight, Israeli or Palestinian, everything that we do in a kind of knee-jerk fashion. So the responsibility, I think, goes back to the ancients. It isn't even American democratic founding. It's know thyself. It's Mark Twain says, nothing so needs reforming as other people's habits. And we're always happy to tell other people what they're doing wrong. And all of the work of life, spiritually, but also collectively in our communities and, of course, in our government, speaking to your responsibility, comes from our own self-discipline, our own willingness to choose virtue over vulgarity. And that's what we've got to be out talking to people about and asking them, making those clear distinctions, as you said. And that's absolutely critical, but also telling the more complicated stories of how democracies work, because dictators always say, look, I've got the easy solution. Here's how we do it. We just take 15 million people and we get them out of here. Or we just stop the press, which is noisy over here, or we do that. And all of a sudden, people become susceptible. Thomas Jefferson said it in the Declaration. All experience has shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable. He's saying, look, up the whole history of human beings, we have been subjects. We have been a sort of superstitious peasants under some authoritarian rule. And we're inventing this new thing. And you're going to have to be a citizen, and they're going to be individual responsibilities, obviously, the first of which is vote. And that's hugely important, but also it requires being informed. You know, at the time of our revolution, a film I'm working on right now, we were reading Thomas Paine. We were reading the Walpole, New Hampshire Gazette. We were getting reports from Georgia. People wanted to be informed. Now we just listen to what we want to hear, and it reinforces how bad the other is. And what we need to do is figure out a platform. And I think both Simone and Jen were right that you need to start altering the narrative to get out, to have conversations, to make clear distinctions, but also remind people of the fundamental responsibility that you bring up. And that's why your question is so central to the survival. Literally, I think it's an existential moment, the survival of our republic.
Ken's full commencement address to Brandeis University's class of 2024 is online now through his digital platform, kenburnsunum.com. And Emmy Award-winning filmmaker Ken Burns, thank you so much. Thank you for delivering that incredible commencement address and generating this conversation. Take care, Ken.